Crush, can you hear me, man?
Yep.
Okay. Fantasy holics everywhere. Welcome to the show. Man. Follow us on all social medias at Fantasy Holics, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's where you will get all of your fantasy news. You'll get tapped in with the Fantasy Holics. You'll get our advice. You can jump on the Facebook page and you can ask your questions. I was in the midst of some trade talks. I was going to throw some options out there, get some feedback, but the trade got hot and heavy, and I had to make some decisions on the fly. But if you need any type of advice, if you're wavering about a decision, picking up somebody on a waiver wire, compensation for a trade, jump into the Facebook page, throw a comment on the wall. You'll get so much feedback that you'll be able to make a sound decision for your fantasy team. Crush, we're not doing a normal show tonight, bro. I don't have the graphics tonight. I don't care about who did well last week, fantasy stats, top quarterback. I don't care about none of that. We got some stuff to talk about. And really, it's only two moves. One bigger than the other one. So we're going to start with the smaller move first, but we're going to go to the second one. Because it might be some ripple effects on your fantasy teams. So we're going to jump right in. We're not going to waste no time. We're going to talk about it, go back and forth, see how we feel. Then we're going to go start the system. We're going to get out of here, get ready for Thursday Night Football. We're going to start with the signing of Cam Newton. Now, listen, I should have pulled it up, and I'm sure I could rerun it on here for the folks who have not seen the video. Cam put out a hype video with the I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. He put that out, and I watched that video, and I was like, okay. I was like, it's cliche, but for Cam going back to the Panthers, it felt right.
I love it.
It felt right. Now, do we expect him to be MVP Cam Newton? Absolutely not. But quarterbacks are playing until their late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s. Brady looked like he's not retiring until he's 62. Cam's only 32 years old. He's had time to step away from the game, get some rest, get his body healthy. He's been putting in the work. I like this. Now, he's probably not going to start this week. But if you ask me, I think he's a better option than a PJ Walker. So you tell me, what do you think? What do you think about this move? What are your early implications of Cam Newton going back to the Carolina Panthers for fantasy owners who have Christian McCaffrey, who have DJ Moore, who have Robbie Anderson, who has not materialized into a good number 2 or number 3 option on most fantasy teams? What are your early implications of Cam Newton going back to the Panthers?
Well, honestly, I think I'm worried about CMC because I think Cam's going to vulture some, touchdowns from him. That's one thing that I've always been worried about when it comes to Cam Newton and CMC. But as far as DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson is concerned, I think they get a bump up. To be honest with you, I think Cam brings another wrinkle to his offense, and I think that'll only open things up for one Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore.
I understand your apprehension about CMC. However, CMC wasn't really a goal line back.
True.
That's true. here's why I'm excited for it. I think, and now I'm wondering why they reposted that play. It makes sense now. I was at work and I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. The day was going crazy. So I saw the clip again from the Green Bay game where Clay Matthews is calling out Will Route. And Cam goes, I see you've been watching film, huh? That's nice. Watch this.
Watch this.
And then they run that that has a halfback route, and then he throws it to CMC for a touchdown. So I think that in this offense, especially early on in the season, we saw Sam Darnold scoring more touchdowns in the red zone than anything. Obviously, CMC was hurt. But maybe we see a different Cam. Maybe we see a Cam Newton that understands that he needs to stay healthy. And he's 32, not 22. So with that, although be it he's 6'5", 250, he can't continue to put his body on the line if he wants to make this opportunity an opportunity that is sustainable. Now, whether, he continues to stay with the Panthers and revitalizes his career a bit, or, he uses this as a stepping stone to maybe another team next season. I think for him, he want to keep his body as best as he can in tip-top shape without taking unnecessary hits and unnecessary beatdown. So I like this. I think going back to the Panthers, already having a familiarity with a DJ Moore, with Robbie Anderson, with the CMC, I think it's just him getting acclimated to Matt Rule's offense. But I think a lot of the concepts that Sam Darnold was running, Cam Newton will be able to run and be able to pick up just fine. And I think what we may see, Matt Rule, because he strikes me as the kind of coach that doesn't rule with an iron fist. He strikes me as a coach that says, all right, Cam, what were some things that you ran here? He may sit them all down. He may sit Cam, CMC, DJ Moore down, sit the three of them down. What were some concepts? What were some schemes that you three ran together previously that worked? What did you guys love to do as a unit that you guys know worked? How can I implement something you are already familiar with because you ran it before and you know where DJ is going to be and you know where CMC is going to be and you know where Cam is going to get the ball? What are some things that you guys used to do that we can incorporate with this new scheme? I think that'd be a benefit to everybody on that offense because it's still Matt Rule's scheme, but then you also implement things that they're familiar with, that they run before, and that most teams may not be prepared for. Now you got to go back to, 2018, 2017, 2016 film to figure out some of the concepts and schemes and some of the route combinations that Cam Newton and that offense was running back then. That only adds more pressure to a defense to say, okay, now we got to watch film from this year, and then we got to throw on tape from last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. It could become information overload. Now that depends on how much they want to get into that old bag of tricks. But so I have DJ Moore, and I just included him in a trade package.
Okay.
Should I be regretting that move? Now let me let you know what the move is. I have Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers been on the low swing. I was trying to trade for Herbo last week because Aaron Rodgers was out. Okay. The other owner was dragging his feet on the trade. Finally came to an agreement where he's a Cowboys fan. He wants Zeke. So the trade is Justin Herbert and Alvin Kamara will come to me, and I send him Zeke Elliott, Marquise Brown, and DJ Moore. What you think about that trade?
How are your wide receivers?
Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett, Chase Claypool.
I'm taking that
trade. Exactly. Like in this league, my wide receivers are so deep.
Yeah.
That I'll have. I had 1 week. I had Tyreek go off for 50, JJ and Debo go off for 30, and I still had Lockett and DJ Moore going off for 25 apiece on the bench. Like my wide receivers are so deep that I have the flexibility to move some of those guys. And while Cam going back to the Panthers, I think is a good thing. I think it's good for Cam. I think it's good for the Panthers. I think it's good for the league. We don't know what we're going to see. As football fans, we're hoping that he tears it up. We know he's not going to return to MVP Cam status, but we're hoping that he comes in and we see a Cam Newton that's reminiscent of the Cam Newton that we all fell in love with. The Cam Newton, the playmaker, the Superman, right? You know, we want to see something that's reminiscent of that.
Better than the Pats Cam Newton.
Yes, that's what and listen, that's all we can hope for. Is it if he does get back to some type of MVP form, it probably won't be this year. Then I think that's great. But if we can just get him to be better than New England Patriots Cam Newton, I think that's more than what anybody could bargain for. But we don't know exactly. So I don't know if I can trust Aaron Rodgers the rest of the season. But I know I can trust some Jay Herbo. You know, so. That was a trade.
Yeah, definitely.
We got that agreed upon. That went through. So we're good there. Now let's move on to the big fish.
Oh boy.
And I think we both got a bone to pick in this situation for different reasons. One, I'm a Niners fan. I always got the paraphernalia with me. I could put this on top of this right now. I could take this one off, put this one on. And I don't know how these dudes keep adding play. Like, are they the only team that is not affected by the salary cap? Like, what is happening here? What is really happening right now? But that's besides the point. You, on the other hand, have a bone to pick as well.
Absolutely, I do.
Because this affects your man Bobby Trees.
Yes, it does. And it's really upsetting.
So let's take some time. Let's break this down because we got a comment in here. Shout out to Amin the Dream. I think Amin's like 13, maybe 14. This kid knows his stuff. We got to get him on here. I got to get him on Mo's Nose, but we definitely got to get him on Fantasy Holics to get some of his takes. Shout out to Mark Wiggins. He says, "What's up?" Shout out to James Littman. He says, "Is Van Jefferson now droppable?" If you don't know what we're talking about, if you were busy at work today or busy at home taking care of home projects, your wife, your husband, your kids, if you were busy and you didn't get a glimpse of the news, Odell Beckham Jr. has signed with the Los Angeles Rams. A team that's already balling, that's already on fire, somehow in the offseason fleeced the Lions and swapped Stafford for Jared Goff. I don't care what the draft picks were. That was a swap of Stafford and Goff, and they fleeced the Lions. They already have Aaron Donald. They already have Jalen Ramsey. They already made a trade, and somehow they fleeced the Denver Broncos and said, "We'll give you an extra draft pick if you keep his salary on your books," to get Von Miller to LA. Now you add Odell Beckham Jr. So I'm sure fantasy owners who have Matt Stafford are elated right now because this just opens up the offense. I'm sure that some fantasy owners who have Cooper Kupp and a lot of fantasy owners who may have Bobby Trees on the bench are kind of getting worried right now that their best wide receiver, and we went over the stats last week, Crush, that the best wide receiver, or not wide receiver, he is the best wide receiver, but the player who has scored the most fantasy points so far has been Cooper Kupp.
Right.
More than any quarterback, more than any running back, Cooper Kupp has the most fantasy points scored of any player in the league this year. So now, our target's going to be taken away from Cooper Kupp, possibly. Our target's going to be taken away from Robert Woods, more than possibly. So give me your thoughts. How does this signing cause a ripple effect with fantasy owners who have Rams, both positively and negatively? Let me get your thoughts.
Well, first off, I just want to say that Odell Beckham was really upset in Cleveland. He wasn't getting his targets, and they were spreading the ball around. They were running for his team first off. But he wasn't getting his targets. He was getting his targets. He was dropping them. It was just a pretty bad situation for him altogether. Now, what I heard was he wanted possibly to go to a team where he would actually get the ball a lot, but he also wanted a contender. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think those two go hand in hand. I think usually the contenders at least have one pretty good wide receiver. But it's puzzling to me why he would sign with the Rams, considering they have Cooper Kupp, considering they have Robert Woods. They have Tyler Higbee. They have a running game. And just last week, Van Jefferson was getting targeted in the red zone. So I think right now Cooper Kupp is safe because that's Stafford's boy. They have that rapport, and if anything, they might even loosen things up for Cooper Kupp. But as far as Bobby Trees, Van Jefferson, it takes a dip in their receptions because there's only one ball, and you can only do so much in the offense. So I think Van Jefferson is on the verge of being droppable at this point, unless you're in like a super deep league. But he might have a game here or there. But as far as anything consistent, no for Van Jefferson. Bobby Trees, in my opinion, I think his production will end up being hurt by this a little bit. I'm not going to say as much as Van Jefferson, but his production will dip down, and Robert Woods owners will be slightly irritated with Odell Beckham signing.
I look at my team. I look at the 49ers, right? This last game we played against the Arizona Cardinals, which I don't want to talk about in depth. But if we look at, one, we didn't play a game that is reminiscent of what we do well on offense. Okay? We had Jimmy Garoppolo throw the ball 40 times. He shouldn't be doing that. But in him throwing the ball 40 times, Deebo Samuel had 9 targets. Brandon Ayuk had 8 targets. George Kittle had 8 targets. So it is possible that there is a situation where Kupp gets his targets, OBJ gets his targets, and then one of the 3 remaining, based on the opponent and the defensive game plan, gets the remaining targets.
Right.
I can see a situation where Cooper Kupp will get 12 targets, OBJ will get 10, and maybe one game Bobby Trees gets 7 or 8. Maybe Higbee gets 6 or 7. Maybe Van Jefferson gets 5, 6, maybe 7 targets, depending on the matchups, depending on the defensive scheme that's deployed to stop this offense. They do have a running game, but they don't have a Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb type running game, right?
Right.
Where they're running for $130, $140, 150 yards a game.
Yeah.
This team is a passing team. I completely agree with you where Cooper Kupp and Stafford have built such a great rapport that I don't think anything is going to shake that.
Right.
I think this is a great situation for Odell because the problem in Cleveland was it wasn't that him and Baker didn't have a good rapport. If you listen to everybody who talks about them, like they were always together. They were always hanging out. Their off the field relationship couldn't have been any better. Right? He was playing in a situation where he was back with his best friend. Him and Jarvis Landry are playing together on the same team again, like they did at LSU. He was in a situation where the ecosystem around him was great. It was perfect. I think the on-field chemistry was the problem, and I think that's just because Baker Mayfield was forcing it. When OBJ was on the field, he was forcing his eyes to wherever OBJ was. And his thought process was, I got to get on the ball, I got to get on the ball, I got to get on the ball, I got to get on the ball. And that affected targets to other receivers. Baker wasn't making fast enough decisions. He was early on passes, late on passes, throwing interceptions, indecisive. That never works for a quarterback. OBJ is going to a situation with a quarterback. I don't care who you are. I understand that you're a great receiver. I respect your game. But I'm the quarterback. Based on what I see, based on what I read, I'm going to hit who's open. I don't care if you're OBJ. I don't have to get you the ball. If you're double covered, if they're throwing bracket coverage your way, if they got a guy over top and a guy underneath, and I don't want to force that ball into that window because I have another guy open, whether it is Bobby Trees, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Darnell Henderson out of the backfield, I'm not going to force the ball to you just because your name is OBJ. So I think that's a great situation for him to be in. You have a strong arm quarterback who can get you the ball downfield. Now, despite what we saw against Tennessee, where, he's getting sacked in the end zone and he throws that interception right to the linebacker, Stafford is mobile enough to where if he does need to get out of the pocket and extend the play, he can do that. And we all know that OBJ is great when a play breaks down and a quarterback is scrambling out of the pocket to buy more time. He's great at those off-schedule situations, finding a hole, getting open, and making himself available for his quarterback. I do think just the thought of OBJ on the other side opens up a lot more one-on-ones for Cooper Kupp. He's already been cooking. Single coverage, double coverage, doesn't matter. He's already been cooking. But if Cooper Kupp starts to see more single coverage, whoa. Like, just to really see what he's able to do. Like, if Cooper Kupp really starts to go off because OBJ's on the other side of him, we may be looking to move the crown. And I see you got the Devontae Adams jersey on. But Cooper Kupp might be coming for the crown of best wide receiver in the league. When you think about it, he might be coming for that crown. And maybe the addition of OBJ beside him opens him up to even a bigger world of possibilities than what he was doing so far. What does this do for OBJ's numbers? Let me ask you that. When you talk about the people around him, what does this do for OBJ's numbers? And specifically, what does he have to do to build that rapport with Matt Stafford? And I'm asking that selfishly because I have OBJ in one of my leagues and I didn't cut him.
Neither did I.
I stashed him on the bench. I said, let me see where he goes. 'Cause if he goes to a Green Bay, or if he goes to a Kansas City, or if he goes to a Baltimore, I'm good. Now I have my number one receiver back. I wasn't expecting it to be the Rams, though. So that's why it's bittersweet for me right now. But what does this do for OBJ's numbers? And what does he have to do to build rapport for Matt Stafford, with Matt Stafford, so that fantasy owners are reaping the benefits of this signing?
Well, I think he has to understand that there are other people in this offense that are going to get the ball. He's not going to be forced by the ball. And like it was to your point earlier, Matt Stafford's like, okay, if you double cover, I'm going to hit someone that's open. It's kind of similar to a Djax role, except I think Odell Beckham is more talented at this point of his career than Djax. To be honest with you, I think his route running is a little bit better. And I think if OBJ can get in the playbook, start to understand the scheme, the terminology, and he already understands what defenses want to do to him. Because like you said, when the play breaks down, he's really good at getting open. And I think they'll get him a little more extra targets than what I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating 5 to 7 targets a game, if I'm being completely honest with you. And that's not bad. If Beckham can work. Oh, I'm echoing. I am echoing. I'm sorry. If OBJ can work after the catch, then I honestly see him probably wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 2.
Hold on one second. It may be me. Let me see if I can get my headphones in. They weren't working at the start of the show, so I didn't want to hold anything up. Let me double check. Let's see if we're good now.
How about now? Oh, I don't hear the echo.
Are we better now? Yeah, I think it was me.
Okay, we're good now.
Me. My headphones. See, it's supposed to be omnidirectional. I mean, not omnidirectional. It's supposed to be directional, so it's only supposed to catch this, but I don't know why it's catching from behind. We got the headphones in. We're good now. Crush isn't echoing. I'm not echoing. We're all good. I love what you said. Okay. Shout out to Vidal. Thank you so much for helping us with the echoing issue. And he says this. Great point. I think OBJ will be more open to it because he has a great chance to get to the Super Bowl. I think McVay is going to be a home run hitter, not too much of a target muncher. Now, let me ask this question. Because I know right now Sean McVay is like a kid in a candy store, and I just can't stand to just think about the elation and the joy on his face right now. But can Sean McVay overthink this and mess this up by being too much of a home run hitter? By always trying to go for the deep shot for the big play? Or do you think he will be calculated enough to make sure to, methodically move the ball and sprinkle in those home run shots to both OBJ and Cooper Kupp?
So I think as long as they don't become one-dimensional with that, and what I mean by that is as long as they're running the ball with Henderson, as long as they're actually getting decent yardage with them, it's going to keep the defenses honest. And, once Stafford and McVay sees that coverage, those guys creeping up to the line of scrimmage, waiting for Henderson, that's when they essentially take their shots. Now, if they can do that, if they can effectively run the football, then I don't see any problem with this OBJ signing. I think it even helps them. So,
from a defensive perspective, do you think it'll be better for teams to play man, play a 2-man with 2 safeties high, or do you think it may be better for them to play, single high and run more of a zone concept? Do you think what defensive scheme do you think this team will exploit more, man or zone coverage?
I think man, 100%. I think Cooper Kupp and Bobby Trees are really fantastic route runners. And you sprinkle OBJ in the mix and it's over. So, yeah, I think if they ever play man across the board, the Rams are going to exploit it every single time.
Now, I love what you said about hindering and sprinkling in the run. And we talked about how this will affect the receivers. But let's talk about how it'll affect the running back. Mm-hmm. Because if teams are worried about that deep shot, if teams are, taking that safety out of the box and playing a lot of 2-man, 2 deep safeties, making sure that they don't get beat over the top, dropping their linebackers, 10, 15 yards in the coverage also, to help out. How will you see a cyclical relationship in the increase of the production from Darnell Henderson as well?
Yeah, definitely. But it starts with the quarterback realizing where the safeties are, what they're doing. If they're backing up out of the box, switch it to a run. I think if he does that, if he has and I think he does, I think Matt Stafford's a really smart quarterback. But I think if he can realize that, he can switch to a run, this offense is going to be pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, Vidal with another comment here. He says, there's no way this offense isn't absolutely dominating. Huge disappointment if they didn't win the Super Bowl. I was just talking about that with one of my good friends, one of my best friends, and he said they have to win it all now.
It's boomer bust.
They have to win it all. And I said, well, they can't just go there and win it. Like, they have to be somewhat dominant on the way there. Outside of fantasy, we're just talking football right now.
Right.
Is that too much pressure for this team? For a Matthew Stafford who I think only made it to the playoffs, I don't want to disrespect him, but I think he only made it to the playoffs once, right?
Like once, yeah.
And then he lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
So who only has one playoff appearance where he's 0-1. Sean McVay, who already took a team to the Super Bowl and lost. OBJ, who's never been there. You have older Von Miller, who was a Super Bowl MVP. Mm-hmm. And then you have other players, young players who, have sniffed the playoffs, but haven't been. Is this too much pressure, adding a Von Miller, adding an OBJ, playing as well as they've played so far, only losing to two potential playoff teams? We know Tennessee's going to make it to the playoffs. We know Arizona is making it to the playoffs. They were able to beat the reigning Super Bowl champ, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But is Super Bowl title or bust too much pressure on this team with still half of the season left to go?
That's a great question. And I'm actually going to reference I think it was the 2015 Denver Broncos. So when they brought in all these pieces for this defense to come together, there was immense pressure, but you do have veterans in that locker room who have been there, who have the experience. And I think with Von Miller, that helps a lot. Von Miller has that Super Bowl experience. He's been on these runs. He knows a good team when he sees one. And he knows that this team is obviously probably primed for a Super Bowl run. As far as pressure, I think McVay actually keeps him cool, keeps him, relaxed, and reminds him to have fun, because this offense is honestly fun to watch, and so is this defense. So pressure is there, sure, but I think that they roll through it without any issues, man.
Another pressure question. Mm-hmm. Is it too early to anoint this team the greatest show on turf 2? Because you think about that team: Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Oz Hakeem, Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner. They don't have a Marshall Faulk type back.
Yeah.
But they definitely have the quarterback. They have 2 receivers. If you include Bobby Trees, that's 3. They have the head coach who, has an offensive mind that's, top tier in this league right now. Is this the greatest show on turf 2.0, or is it too early to tell? Are we automatically anointing them the best offense in the league without even seeing OBJ take a snap in a Rams uniform? Which, by the way, he's trying to be ready to play Monday night against my Niners. Like, I thought we was cool, Odell. Like, if you look at me and if you look at my beard, like, I'm just a heavy set Odell Beckham. Like, I thought we were cool, bro. I thought we was cool, my guy. You gonna do this to me?
Yeah.
I'm a 49ers fan, and my son loves you so much. I let him get the OBJ haircut, the mohawk, dye it blonde, and I bought him a Giants jersey for his birthday.
Oh.
I paid for the merch, Odell. You gonna do this to me? You gonna try to play Monday night against my Niners when you know our cornerback situation is trash? You got to go. I feel like he did it because he want to go up against Josh Norman.
Oh.
I feel like he did it for the Josh Norman. Because we haven't played the Rams yet, so we still played them twice. We played them Monday night and we played them the last game of the season. So I feel like Josh Norman may have been a driving factor.
He's like, I didn't forget.
Right. Right. So come on, Odell. Why? Come on, man.
As far as the greatest show on turf, though, back when it first happened, it was a different time in the NFL, though. That was really something special to watch. But you know, this team is obviously really good, and the NFL has become more of a passing league. But as far as to anoint him with Odell, not yet. I want to see if they can actually pull it together. Do they have the coach for it? Absolutely. Do they have the quarterback for it? Absolutely. But now it's just a matter of seeing it on the field and putting it all together on the field.
If Matthew Stafford goes for 400 yards on Monday night and Cooper Kupp and OBJ have 100 plus and a touchdown, I shouldn't even have said it out loud because now I'm probably jinxing myself. I don't know why I even thought that. Let's get to some of these comments. Paul Smith Jr. says, I do like Cam being re-signed back to Carolina. My question is geared more towards Dynasty League. What are your thoughts on Sam Darnold going forward? Is it time to be prepared to drop him in the offseason because it's going to be hard for him to get another shot? I would assume that's another shot. Sam Darnold started off hot, and we thought he just needed to change the scenery. Right. He just needed to get away from New York. And then he regressed, and he regressed quickly.
Very quickly.
So, again, we don't know what we get from Cam Newton. But to Paul's comment, if Cam is rejuvenated by being back in Carolina, and he looks like a version of the old Cam, what does this mean for Sam Darnold? And as Paul mentioned, especially for dynasty leagues, what does that mean for Sam Darnold? And what should owners be thinking right now, and what should they be looking for in the upcoming weeks to help them make that decision?
So, a very curious situation. I actually might compare it to a Mitchell Trubisky kind of situation. All right. So he's actually doing pretty decent in his last season in Chicago, but they decided not to give him his fifth-year option, and he tested free agency. I think that the Panthers do that with Sam Darnold as well this year. I think they let him be a free agent, and then I think he signs with maybe a contender to be the backup. I think that's probably the best situation for Sam Darnold, because obviously something is wrong. You know, he started off hot, like we said, and now he's just back to seeing ghosts as Sam Darnold. So it's just really hard to tell. I do think he'll be a backup next year. I don't think he'll be a starter. So as far as dynasty goes, I don't know. I don't think I would keep him, to be honest.
Okay. Got a comment from Mariah 49 Faithful Lee. That's not the right comment. What's up, Mariah? Thanks so much for tuning in. What else we got? We have Jason, who says Rams have all the talent on paper and on the field. Now they have to put it all together. Let's see what happens. A little behind on comments. Vidal Guinea says, great point, Mose. Maybe the playoffs are too much pressure for Stafford. Nonetheless, all the moves are going to tell a lot about Stafford as a QB and OBJ as a wide receiver. The narrative is that Stafford has just been a stat stuffer who led a team when it matters. I mean, that has been the narrative. Maybe this is a situation where, he can get that monkey off his back. I hope not, because I don't want to see the Rams do good. My brother's a Rams fan. I know he's going to call me tonight. I just got a feeling. I feel it. I feel it coming. Jason also says Bucks are still the best offense in the league. Brady and company. Okay, I like where you're going, Jason. Not off of fantasy, just on football. Just football talk. Was this move by the Rams to keep up with Tampa Bay? If you look at Tampa, might be 4 receivers deep if you include Gronk. Yeah, you have Evans, Godwin, AB, Gronk. Even Bruce Arians said, listen, that's too many letters. I already got an AB. I don't need an OBJ. So Tom Brady, his weapons, Matt Stafford, his weapons is okay. Is it a little bit presumptuous of the Rams to think that they are going to be in the NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers and they need as much firepower as they can get? Is that too presumptuous or too cocky of them? Or is that them saying, we have a legitimate shot? Let's make sure that we're locked and loaded so that when we get there, there are no excuses.
Well, I think the way they've been playing this year, I definitely think that they think they have a shot. And the way that I've seen them play this year, I think they have a shot too. They've been playing really good football, offensively, defensively. Yeah, they've had a few losses here and there, but as far as playing a whole game, offense, defense, special teams, I think Rams can get it done.
Shout out to Stephen White. He says, do you guys think that Rodgers will play? I think he will. What about you?
I think he will, and I think he's going to go off.
You think he's going to go off against the Seahawks?
Oh, yeah. I
hope he does, because my trade didn't go through yet. It got approved. I mean, the owner accepted it, but I don't understand these fantasy leagues and processing time and all that. If I make a trade, just let it go through immediately. But
right, yeah,
we'll see what happens. Vidal, I'm about to kick you out the chat, man. Like I said earlier in the show, I didn't want to talk about this. He said, you did see what Arizona did with a backup quarterback and yes, Vidal, I saw it. I lived it, bro. I just showed you, I'm a Niners fan. I had to sit and watch 60 minutes of that BS. I can't cuss on here because sometimes my grandma watches the show. I had to sit and watch that. Like, we literally got beat by the replacements. Colt McCoy?
Colt McCoy, baby.
Colt McCoy. James Conner. No Hopkins. Ugh. No AJ Green. No JJ Watt. As an Ayuk owner, I'm hoping the 49ers are playing from behind the whole time. I would hate being a 49er fan on Monday night. Thanks, bro. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. But as a Giants fan, I already lived the nightmare. Yeah, whatever. Y'all won last week, okay? Can we ban him from the chat?
Oh, my gosh.
Jason says, Sam is done. Great backup, nothing more. Shout out to Cliff Dwyer. Is OBJ a definite starter if he plays this week? Listen, I know I'm starting him. I would hate for OBJ's first start on Monday night with his new team, he go off just because Sean McVay wants to force him the ball, or Sean McVay wants to prove that having OBJ here is not going to be a distraction to this team. Having OBJ here isn't going to take away from Cooper Kupp. And both, again, I'm putting it out in the atmosphere, but both of them have 10 catches, 100+ yards, and a touchdown or more each. Like, I could very well see something like that happening. I know I'm starting them.
Yep, for sure.
Jason says, haha, you guys are awesome. Thanks, Jason. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to rock out with us. All right, we got about 13 minutes left, Crush. I didn't want to go through all that other stuff because I knew this conversation would take up most of our night, just with those two moves.
Right.
And we see just with one signing how the fantasy season for owners can be flipped in an instant. My wide receiver group in this. Let me show y'all how embarrassing my wide receiver core is in this one week. We could be honest, we family. Here are my wide receivers in this league. Now I told you the wide receivers who I have in the other league, right? I
great
ran
lineup.
down. Great lineup. Marquez Callaway, Nelson Aguilar, Corey Davis, Darnell Mooney, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Sterling Shepard. My wide receivers are terrible.
I don't want to say that to you, man. We're buddies here.
You can say it, but I'm going to say it too. It's terrible. Terrible. And not to mention Josh Allen laying an egg against defensive Josh Allen.
Did you lose last week?
I did. It wasn't by a lot. What was last week? Let me go back to.
And did you start Donovan Peoples-Jones?
I did start Donovan Peoples-Jones because OBJ was out. He gave me 16 points. I only lost by 6.
Okay.
114 to 120. But I felt like any of the other wide receivers that I could have picked up in free agency, I like Nelson Aguilar got me 0 points. But for him, Brian Edwards of the Raiders got him 0 points. So like that evened out. He had Stafford, Keenan Allen, Joe Mixon. That's what really killed me. So I mean, I only lost by 6 points. I feel like Matt Stafford had 17. Josh Allen only had 11. I feel like if Josh Allen didn't lay an egg in that game, I would have won.
PPR?
Yes.
Oh, Mixon.
And I had, Mixon crushed. I had Najee Harris, and I was hoping on that final drive, like he caught either like 2 or 3 passes on that final drive, and I was hoping that like once they got closer, like he would catch like a screen or a choice route and take it for a touchdown, and like I get that last 6 points from the catch, the yards, and the touchdown. But of course, it didn't happen, and they kicked the field goal. But those who my receivers are. But I also have OBJ. So now OBJ looks kind of good as a Ram than he did as a Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And now I keep Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm not going to drop him. I'm going to keep him. Mm-hmm. And maybe he can go on my flex if I need him to. But now I got OBJ, and he's a Ram with a better quarterback and a high-powered offense. Now I feel better about having my number one wide receiver. So I'm going to start us off. We usually start with quarterbacks. Okay. But I'm going to start us off with wide receivers. And I'm starting OBJ this week.
All right. I like it.
I'm starting OBJ this week. So I'm going to go to my team. Who I'm going to sit out? Who I'm going to take? Nelson Aguilar got to go.
Bye, Aguilar.
Aguilar, give me OBJ. Right there.
Happy trails.
Oh, I have 2 defenses, and I know I shouldn't keep 2 defenses. But I got Tampa versus Washington. And I picked up Dallas last week because Tampa was on the bye. So I still have them. I didn't drop them yet. Dallas versus Atlanta. I'm worried. I want to say that I want to go Tampa versus Washington just because Taylor Heineke and that offense has struggled. And I know Atlanta isn't that good of a team, but I feel like if they don't put Michael Parsons, I feel like if Kyle Pitts is in line, Parsons will be on him. If he's lined up outside, they'll put Diggs on him. But if Dallas for some reason doesn't put Parsons or Diggs on Pitts, he could go off. And I already have a feeling that Cordero Patterson is going to go off. So I'm thinking I should just drop Dallas and then find somebody else to put on the roster, either if I want to flex them in or start them.
I'm keeping the Bucs defense. I'm starting him.
Yeah.
Like you said, the offense is struggling. Gibson's dealing with an injury. And yeah, it's just not good all around for Washington right now.
Got you. All right, so we'll go back to regular format. Quarterback. Okay. Give me somebody you start and somebody you sit.
All right. So this is thanks to Ryan, actually, at Fantasy Holics. He actually talked me into starting Carson Wentz versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, okay.
I am going to be starting him over Matt Ryan, actually.
Okay.
And I dug up a little information on him. 6 games in a row of at least 20 fantasy points for Carson Wentz.
Really?
24 plus points the past 3 games. So against this Jacksonville defense, yeah, they just kind of beat Buffalo, but hey, I like Carson Wentz. I like their ability to run the football, and I think that will, take a little pressure off Carson Wentz.
Right. Okay. Who's taking his seat?
Baker Mayfield versus the Pats.
Yeah.
They're only giving up 16 points per game to quarterbacks, and Baker Mayfield just hasn't been that great all year. So I'm sitting him versus the Pats.
I agree with your sit. I'll give you another start if somebody needs a quarterback. I mean, I don't like saying it, but I do like saying it because my uncle is a Lions fan. If your team is playing the Lions, start whoever that quarterback is. Okay. I think Big Ben is. It took him a while, but I think he's getting into a groove where he's understanding what his limitations are now, and he's realizing how he can best utilize what he's able to do with the weapons that he has around him. I think Najee Harris has been a big help in the running game and in the passing game. So if you do need another start, if your quarterback is on a bye and there are no other better options, if Carson Wentz isn't in the free agent pool, I would go with Ben Roethlisberger versus the Lions. All right, give me a running back you want to start, a running back you want to sit.
So I'm going to start Devin Singletary versus the Jets.
Okay.
They give out the most points to running backs. Now, if Moss starts or if Moss is playing, I'll actually have him as a flex play this week as well. That's how bad the Jets' run defense is. I mean, we saw what Jonathan Taylor did to him last week.
And I honestly think for Buffalo, I would have to sit back and watch both the last 2 games to really figure out what is going on. And maybe it could just be a midseason slump. But I feel like one of the best ways to get out of something like that, run the ball, control the clock, shorten the game. So I think that's absolutely great. Who you sitting?
I'm going to sit Mike Davis versus Dallas. Speaking of Atlanta, I think his ceiling might be around 10 points a game.
Okay.
And I think that's being fair, to be honest with you. Since the emergence of Patterson, Mike Davis has been kind of an afterthought in this Atlanta offense. So I'm sitting him this week versus Dallas.
What are your thoughts on Javonte Williams from Denver?
Oh, I'm starting him.
Okay. Especially against the Eagles. Eagles coming all the way east from the East Coast to Mile High.
Yeah, and we know you love the Eagles, so.
All right. Do I want to add anybody to that? I think those are good. Yeah, I like all of those. Let me see. Oh, this guy's he's been up and down for me too, and I know he's been injured. James Robinson
Okay.
against Indy. You starting or you sitting?
If this goes back to James Robinson, like prior to him getting injured, getting him a ton of carries, ton of touches, then yeah, I'll start him. It is a tough matchup against the Indy defense, but I mean, on the other hand, it's James Robinson. I think he's a really good running back. It's just a matter of if he's healthy or not.
So right now I'm starting, and here's why I'm in my other league. Here's why I'm on the fence about it. Right now I'm starting Zeke Elliott and Elijah Mitchell.
Is he playing this week? Is he still injured?
Who?
Eli.
Oh no, yeah, he's playing because he played last week.
Cool.
He played against the Cardinals. He was fine. Made it through the game without any additional injury, so he should be good to go. But I think the Rams are. I wrote down the notes for another show yesterday. I think the Rams are 7th in the league in rush defense, if I'm not mistaken. Only giving up 99.6, averaging 99.6 rushing yards to an opponent per game.
I feel like that number can be misconstrued though.
Okay.
Only because the Rams they get leads. Okay. And when you're trailing someone, you're not running the ball as much.
Okay.
So that's just the way I might look at it.
I completely agree with you. If a team is forced to pass the ball because they're down 21, obviously they're not going to have a lot of rushing yards. So basically what you're saying is our defense has a tall task of stopping this high-powered offense so that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have to throw the ball 50 times a game. Okay, yeah, that's easy to do. Thanks, Crush. I'm sure I can do that.
You know I got you.
Another comment from Jason. He says, Emmanuel Sanders or Rashad Bateman. Do we see the breakout for Rashad tonight, even with Watkins back? Thoughts? And then we have a contribution from Fantasy Holics on Mr. 305. He said, I go with Sanders against the Jets. But I'll pose this to you, Crush. Sanders or Bateman? And do you think we see a breakout game from Rashad Bateman?
I think this is going to be one of those games where they run the ball a lot for the Ravens. I think, especially with Jacoby Brissett on the other side of the field there. I just think they're going to have a lead most of this game, and I think they're just going to run the ball a lot. So I'm going with Emmanuel Sanders on this one.
Gotcha. Shout out to the Wise Soul. He has a question. He says, Jalen Waddle or Marquise Brown?
That's really funny because in our start and sit, I was getting ready to tell people start Waddle versus the Ravens.
Really?
Parker and Fuller are out, and he's had 15 PPR points 3 of the last 4 games. So I like Waddle, but Brown, he's also really good. He had a lot of targets last time he was on the field. I don't know. What are you thinking?
See, this again. Okay, so with this team, this is the dilemma that I have with having so many wide receivers. Because right now I'm starting Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and Deebo Samuel. But you know who Deebo Samuel got to see?
Right.
Deebo Samuel, he gonna have to see Jalen Ramsey at some point on Monday night.
I'm still starting him.
You still starting Deebo?
Oh, I'm not scared.
Well, then if you're not scared, I'm not scared. Okay, so if Justin Jefferson versus the Chargers.
That's kind of a tough matchup.
Okay, so I have Marquise. I have before the trade, I have Lockett, Claypool, DJ Moore, Marquise Brown on my bench. So I'm starting Tyreek, JJ, and Debo. Marquise Brown for me went off last week for 25 points, but it was on the bench. Miami is ranked 30th against the pass. It says the Chargers are ranked 2nd against the pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting Tyreek Hill. So it would be between Justin Jefferson and Deebo Samuel. But should I just leave JJ and Deebo and just keep Marquise on the bench? Or should I throw Marquise in there and hope that he can give me something tonight? And the only reason why I like my lineup, how I have it set up right now, is I got the Rams defense, I got Deebo, I got Kittle, and I got Elijah Mitchell. And then I got Tyreek Hill. So I got 4 on Monday night and 1 on Sunday night. I'll have 1 person in the 1 o'clock window. Rodgers is at 425, and my kicker is at 405. In my matchup, my opponent has 1 on tonight. Everybody else is Sunday, except for Van Jefferson on Monday night. So I'll know how many points they have by Sunday night, heading into Monday, like knowing I need this many points from Mitchell, Kittle, Deebo, and the Rams defense.
I like the way your lineup is right now, to be honest with you.
So don't put in Marquise Brown.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Okay. And especially if you think they're going to run the ball. Now, who they going to run the ball with? Le'Veon Bell?
Freeman.
Free? Okay. Freeman.
I'm actually starting him in the league tonight.
You're starting Freeman. Okay.
I'm starting Freeman in the league tonight, yeah.
Okay.
Over Michael Carter.
Okay. Makes sense. Did you give us a receiver that you're going to sit?
Christian Kirk against Carolina. Number 4 in fewest points allowed to wide receivers.
Okay.
I don't like Kirk this week.
I like that. Give us 2 tight ends that you're going to start and sit, and we'll get on up out of here.
All right. Actually, I think I listed this guy as a sit last week. Pat Freiermuth. Thanks to him, I'm eating crow this week. I told everyone to sit him, and he goes and does that. So start Freiermuth until further notice. He's a red zone monster. He's trusted by Ben, and he proved OG Crush wrong. Those are the 3 main points there. So I'm sitting Hunter Henry versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, Hunter Henry has been somewhat touchdown dependent and has slowed down these past few weeks. And Cleveland has allowed only 2 touchdowns by a tight end since week 1.
Okay. Got it. I'm good with all of those.
Yeah, man. I love it.
That's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for this week of the fantasy preview heading into week 10. Again, if you got players that you want to get in from the Ravens or the Dolphins, get those guys in before the game starts. If you have any other question before Sunday's matchups, again, follow us on all social medias at FantasyHolics, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you have a question, drop it on the Facebook page. I guarantee you will have your answer within 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Definitely within the hour, you'll have multiple responses, people giving you all sides of the debate, every side of the coin, so that you can make the best decision possible for your fantasy team. We appreciate you guys rocking with us tonight, and we will catch y'all next week. Peace.